This fallen tree is the only way I can get into the woods right now. It's turned to I'd need to look this up so I know the exact classification, but like a marshland. It's all marshy and boggy. I can't remember. I know one's for salt water, one's for fresh water. I'll look it up later. Forgive my ignorance on this. But the only way in is this fallen tree, at least the only way that I've found. There's another really nice walkway I like to go on, but the mud is so silty and so clayey and so thick and horrible. I can't walk in there, at least not of the footwear I currently have. These are amazing barefoot shoes, but like, you know, they don't go up very high, and I don't like getting them covered in mud like that. They're hiking shoes. I have wellies on the way, but that's gonna be a while. But I will cross this, and then I will probably, yeah, I'll record something in the woods on this beautiful day. Not gonna lie, crossing that is ever so slightly terrifying. Once you get to this part though, it's fine. Look at the flood. I mean, I haven't lived here a full year, so I haven't seen how this place goes per the season. I don't know if this is normal, but it is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at that. I've walked around these woods, it's so strange. It's a completely different ecosystem, a completely different environment. So amazing. I'm really looking forward to these barefoot wellies, because I'll be able to make a lot more use of this environment. It's going to be awesome. This old tree you see in front of you, I call it the moss tree. And I've been living here for many months, and that's a pretty old tree. You can see in the center, it's cracked in half and split. And I think that's because of this flood water. That's why I'm thinking maybe this isn't usual. Maybe it is. Maybe that tree just finally had enough. But you see, these trees don't just die when they crack. They fall over, they root into the ground and keep them going. They're very amazing trees. I have no clue what type of tree they are. As funny as it sounds, I don't actually know much about trees. I really should learn more. I know a lot about a lot of animals and plants, but not as much as I like, especially when it comes to plants. So beautiful. I mean, look at this. Flooding, it's insane. This is what the forest normally looks like. Never this, and this water's pretty deep. Beautiful. Welcome back to my second episode, or video, or whatever the fuck I'm calling these. Today I actually have coffee, and it's a beautiful day. I mean, last video I said the whole thing about, every day is beautiful, and I do agree with that, and I like seeing the sun. First video was a bit of a ramble, unstructured, and just kind of an introduction to the channel, the new version of the channel. Today's video, I think I have a more structured topic. I think the topic for today is processing. I've been doing a lot of processing recently, and something I've been thinking about a lot is how we process. How we should actually process. When things are really difficult and really tough, it's really easy to get into a mindset of wanting to distract. Scroll on TikTok. I never fucking use TikTok, and I never will, but I know a lot of people do. I fall into the trap of YouTube Shorts though, so. But, scrolling TikTok or YouTube Shorts, or, smoking weed to get high, or drinking, or being a workaholic, spending all your time at work so you don't have to think about your problems, or a whole host of things, anything that means you don't have to go in here and think. That's a really, really common thing, and I don't blame people for doing it, because I've done it a lot too. But recently I've decided, with everything I've done with myself, and all the pain and shit I've been through, I'm always distracted. I've thought recently, it's like, I haven't been feeling good, so I had shit happen, and instead of distracting, instead of getting high, I decided, wow, things are really bad right now, I'm really struggling right now, I'm not doing too okay. So what am I going to do? I am not going to drink a drop of alcohol. I am not going to have any cannabis. I smoke decently often. I haven't smoked in nearly a week now, because I'm processing, and my brain needs to process, and to do that the most effectively I should be sober, I shouldn't be distracting myself with anything. There's very good uses for these things, but not when you're processing. And I've been avoiding, you know, tasks that are all-consuming. Ladybug, sorry. There was a day where I was struggling so much, I had no energy to do anything, so what did I do? I just went up into my bed and had a nap. I sat with myself and been doing meditation. Oftentimes, and it's like, you know, the answer we don't want to hear, when shit is really feeling bad, the quickest way to get out of it is to let yourself feel it, to do nothing. Often the answer to the problem, the answer to almost every problem when you're really struggling is, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to. The answer is do nothing. It is the most healing thing you can do, is to sit with your own mind and observe your own thoughts. And just sit like that for a while. A few days will make a fucking massive difference. I'm already shocked how much better I feel from doing nothing. There's always a mindset, you know, you get into this mindset, oh, you're lazy, you're fucking hell. You could be out of bed. You should be out of bed at 7 AM. It's so easy to get up. It's so easy to just do this and do that. And that's belittling the inner child, and especially if you were raised by people who belittled your inner child. That ain't gonna help. That's gonna make it a lot fucking worse. The best way is to actually acknowledge that there's an inner child in there. And treat them like a child, and I don't mean insultingly. I mean be patient, be loving. You must love yourself. And if you're patient and it's like, oh wow, the little child within me is really fucking struggling because they're depressed and they can't get out of bed. Okay, that's okay. It's a slow day, you accept that, and you're like, okay, this is a slow day, this is going to be a slow day, but that doesn't mean it has to be a bad day. You take time, you relax, you're like, oh, okay, things are struggling, oh, I haven't, instead of beating yourself up, that's okay. Compassion is such a underrated tool. I'm going to check this camera because the battery's low, I'm going to need to switch it out. And like, for me, I could have been going on a walk every day. Yeah, it's been rainy, it's been horrible, I can barely get out into the woods, it's so wet and soggy. It really adds a lot of friction. But sometimes, yes, going out and being in nature is so healing, it's lovely. Sometimes sitting in your room and rotting for a while is actually good for you. Sometimes, there's a definition though. If you're sitting in your room rotting, getting high every day, distracting yourself from TikTok or YouTube Shorts and not letting yourself think, no, that's fucking detrimental, obviously. But if you're sitting there meditating and like, oh, you think meditation, in the lotus position, no. You just stop. You think, you breathe, you notice the clothes on your body, you notice the way your breath enters your lungs, you notice the way the skin feels the air feels on your skin. You look at the thoughts passing through your head. You don't follow the train. It's like, oh, this person that's hurt me, oh, maybe this, like, you make it, no, you just look at that thought, you feel the emotion, you don't chase it, you just let it drift, just little things. You don't have to do it often, but just trying is important, and just trying to sit with your own shit. Spend time just thinking, you know? It's really nice to just have silence. It's so healing, but especially in the world we live in with TikTok, with all of this attention-grabbing stuff, it's really difficult to sit in silence for a lot of people, and I don't blame them. It's been engineered that way. It's causing symptoms like ADHD. You know, God forbid anyone who actually has ADHD with that shit on top, it's destructive. If you're seeing this and you're struggling, my advice, do nothing. Sit in your bed, rot, feel that pain. But just allow yourself to feel it, don't distract from it. And you'll probably find your brain actually processes, especially when you're sleeping too. You know, we process, we heal in the intermediate. We heal, we process, we deal with shit when our brain isn't actively working on a problem. Think about it this way. You know, if my brain has to deal with a problem that's causing a lot of psychological issues, spending all of my time dealing with a physical problem that's like intricate and like my brain is actually having to focus on this task now. How the fuck is my brain going to deal with the problem in here if it's focusing on the problem out there? Sometimes doing nothing out there is how your brain deals with the problem in here. Doing nothing isn't nothing, it's actually doing a lot within here. Our brains do a load of stuff subconsciously. it really is amazing what isn't visible to us that is happening. I think that's something that it's something I'm coming to understand. I'm not like some fucking mentor or monk or no, I'm a guy who struggles with his mental health, but I'm trying to go down a path that actually has me enjoying life instead of wanting to be out of it. I love my coffee. I grind it by hand every morning, you know. Well, every other morning. Not every morning, because I try and limit my caffeine, because I used to drink a shitload of caffeine, so many energy drinks and shit, man. Kind of cut down on it, because it just ain't good for you. And I'm not talking like health-wise, I mean, obviously health-wise, but like anxiety and shit. But when you hand grind your coffee from fresh coffee beans, and if you know how to balance it with a mocha pot, it's fucking lovely. This is a really weird thing to re-record and get hung up on. But when I said coffee every other day, I didn't mean I have coffee every other day. I drink coffee every day, but my mocha pot makes 6 shots. But I don't want to drink 6 shots a day, so I make it every other day. 3 shots one day, 3 shots the next, and then I make it again. It means I do less work, and I have coffee for 2 days. That's what I meant. Had to clarify because it was in my head and it was annoying me. I was like, yeah. Oh, let's have another cup. And you know what? If you do have the motivation to go outside, you do feel good enough, or it's a good day, obviously go outside and just sit in nature. That's good for you. But if you don't have, sit inside and just think. And yeah, like sometimes you don't want to think. Sometimes it's really fucking boring. And in that situation, a 10-minute timer went off, and this time I know how this camera works, so I'm not going to lose a bunch of fucking footage. Let's make sure that's actually a good angle though. And this time, unlike the first video, the exposure was all fucked because I wanted to mess with it and make it look fancy, which made it look worse. That's on me. So, you know, even if it's a bit overexposed, that's better than not seeing me at all, right? Not what I'm saying. in the before, you know. You know, some days it's like, you know, obviously you don't always want to be sitting doing absolutely nothing. You know, sometimes is that too low? I don't know. Sometimes you don't want to be sitting doing absolutely nothing. And yeah, it's important. Spend, like, when you're feeling like shit, intentionally put some time into doing nothing. I know that sounds a bit, every day, if you're feeling like shit, intentionally put at least 30 minutes. It's just doing nothing. Even if that nothing is going on a walk without music. Just letting your brain have time to process its own problems. Give yourself time to do that every day. Obviously, you know, you're not always going to be strong enough or have the power to do that, and it's like, yeah, you've done your 30 minutes, whatever, you're still struggling. Of course you can entertain yourself, that's fine. I'm not telling you, oh, yes, spend the week of silence under the 4th oath. No. But do be more intentional about what you engage with, you know? Like, one thing I've been listening to a lot is Dungeons and Daddies, not BDSM podcast, if you know, you know. Fantastic podcast, but it's like having long form things like that, things your brain can just listen to, especially a podcast. Yes, it is doing something your brain is not able to process as effectively when it's processing something else, but still, there's a very big difference between doom scrolling on TikTok and listening to a podcast or something you really enjoy or a show you really enjoy. Intentionality is important. There's no intentionality with a doom scroll. There's no intentionality with short form content. You know, for the most part, I'm not going to shit on it entirely. Be intentional. Give yourself time every day to process. And just try to treat yourself as another thing. You know, like the whole inner child thing. There's a little inner child in everyone, regardless of how much you beat them. And like say they're a little shit and they need to get up and they need to do this and it's so fucking easy and you're trying to force yourself to do something you can't do. They're still there and you're just screaming at your childlike self and it's not helping, it's making it worse. Sometimes, when you're feeling like shit, don't punish yourself, you know? A lot of people punish themselves for it. Gift yourself. Get yourself more treats. You know, oh, but I'm gonna reinforce my bad. No, you're fucking not. Dude, give yourself a break. You know, when you're feeling like shit, get yourself some ice cream. You know, the whole stereotype of eating ice cream after a breakup, that's actually good. You're giving yourself a treat. You're you know, like, hey, look, I know bad things are happening, but here's something. You know, if your child just got bullied at school, right? You're gonna tell them fuck up and buck up. No, you're gonna be like, hey, I'm sorry, buddy. You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna have a chill day today. You don't have to do anything. Let's just relax. Here's some ice cream. That's how you got to treat yourself. It really helps when you just like, oh, you really enjoy doing this thing. Let's do it. You really enjoy this food. Do it. Give yourself a break. I don't know if there's more to say on processing than that. Silence and time with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself treats. You know, going out on walks if you can. And if you can't, that's fine. Just set aside some time. There's always meditation. And again, not everyone can do meditation, but just sitting with yourself for 30 minutes, that is fucking meditation. You know, if you sit by yourself, with yourself, without distraction, for 30 minutes, and you try not to follow your own thoughts, you just sit down and feel yourself and acknowledge, not in that way, you just acknowledge your own thoughts and your own feelings, the way your body feels, and that is meditation. You know, here's a quick little form of meditation I can give you. Sit down, close your eyes or don't, doesn't matter. Like I said, feel the air on your skin. Feel your lungs contract and expand. Maybe place your hands on your heart if you want to. Feel your heartbeat. Feel the pressure of your clothes on your skin. Feel the pressure of where your body is touching the floor, or your feet on the floor, or your feet on the chair or the bed. Just become aware of that. Become aware of these sensations you normally block out. Look at the thoughts going through your head. Don't chase them, but look at them. Look at them go by. Observe the feeling, observe where you feel it in your body. Look at the thought. Do not chase it. Just look at it. Don't try and suppress anything. That's important too. Don't just suppress it. Oh, I can't think. That's not how this works. Let yourself think. Let these thoughts come by. Just don't chase them when they do. Let them drift on by. And you'll notice you get to a point where you're very self-aware. You're grounding with your own body. You're synchronizing your brain and your body. You're synchronizing your thoughts. This is a whole thing of the observer, you know. If I am thinking right now, how am I perceiving the thoughts that I am thinking? Who is or what is seeing those thoughts? Some people call that God. Some people, I don't mean that disrespectfully, I just mean there are different views. Oh, god damn it, plane. I'm gonna wait for that. Alright. Like some people, let me explain it more before I go off into my depths of my mind. Every thought you have, every time you think of something, like think about the thought, like okay, let's say you think apple, for instance, right? Okay, the word apple pops into your head, and you observe that word apple, but then you think, okay, who or what is observing me thinking that? Like, how am I actually perceiving that I'm thinking that in the first place? Well, you think, well, obviously I'm thinking that. But then, who is observing? How would you have the observation that you're thinking, you know? You get to a point where if you really focus in on this, it gets kind of freaky, because how am I actually observing this? How am I observing my own vision to the world around me? How am I observing the consciousness that I am currently experiencing? How am I observing each thought that goes through my head? This is the observer, you know? It's in the meditation, Buddhism, the observer. Depending on your religious beliefs, some people call this God. Some people just call this the universe, the observation of itself, the universe creating and then observing itself within itself for a brief moment in time, you know. There are loads of different understandings of it. You know, there's a whole thing of religion. I'm not a religious person, I've said this before, I'm very spiritual but not religious. But I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned and found within religion. You know, a lot of religions synchronize on the same thing. This whole observer thing is found in every religion, really. And it's found in spirituality. There is definitely something there. You know, different people have different words for it, but it's the same kind of thing. it's a very fascinating thing when you delve into it. You know, a whole perception and understanding of consciousness. That is like a basis of meditation. It's getting to the point where you are looking from the point of view of the observer. Because when you are looking from the point of view of the observer, there are no emotions, there are no real feelings. It is just observation without bias at all. And it's a very strange thing to get into that. Obviously, if you've done psychedelics and had ego death, that kind of throws you into that without preparation. It's kind of scary as hell. But there are ways to get to that with meditation. But that's the whole thing. You get to a point where you're looking at yourself without a bias and just observing everything. And from that point of view, because obviously there's no bias, it's a very good point of view from healing. It lets your brain process, and it's just good in general. I can't go into the science because I don't fully understand it myself, but that's the best explanation I could make. Shout out to a YouTube channel called Savannah Brown. Absolutely fantastic channel. You know, I've been watching her videos for years, and when I first watched one of the first earlier videos, I think, Heal Your Shame, Become an Orb. I didn't get it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get it. I found the words beautiful, the poetry elegant and complex, but I did not understand, but I was in a place of shame. I was in a place of shame. I had not become an orb. I hadn't even come close to that yet. But after actually having done a lot of work on myself, like genuine work and time, and escaping the things that were causing me pain, I found that it's so strange to have observed something like her video previously and had no real understanding of its true meaning, still finding beauty in it to the point I saved it. Coming back to it later and finding it so insanely beautiful because I had gone through the same journey and I understood to my core. I watch every video of hers now. She's a fucking amazingly fascinating human. Very, very fascinating. I have a massive amount of respect for her. Not much more to say there, but it's strange how our perception and reality shifts as we go through life, as we get to different points, as we become calmer, as we heal our shame and become an orb. You know, I'm a kind of wobbly orb. I'm not really stable. I'm not like a solid form, but you know, who is a solid form? A fucking monk sitting up there perfectly, and even they aren't absolutely perfect. Yes, they're a much more round, solid orb, and it's not always going to be precise, but most of the time it's going to be a pretty pristine orb, and being human, it's going to fluctuate, but everyone's going to be fluctuating. But I ain't a puddle on the ground that can barely hold itself up anymore. Strange, but I don't think I have much more to say. Let's just spend some time in silence and enjoy the sounds around us. Enjoy coffee with me, perhaps. Sorry to interrupt the moment of silence, but I forgot to mention one thing, and I did mention this in the first video. Breathing. I don't need to say much about this one, just controlled breathing with the meditation, with stress, with anything, just... It's a pretty commonly recommended thing for dealing with shit, but I don't think people actually understand how much of a difference it makes. Breath is life. If you are not breathing, you are not alive. You know, to a certain point, obviously you have a few minutes before the brain shuts down and, you know, neuron damage starts happening, but breath is life. You breathe fast, your body's preparing to fight or flight. You slow it down, you calm the system. Calm the system. It's a beautiful thing to do. Just try that. I know it's a simple thing. In this moment of silence, that or actual moment of silence, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Make your own rhythm, just keep it slow to the point you feel comfortable. Slow it down to the point where it's like, where you feel like you can really slow it down. Slow it down as much as you can without it becoming uncomfortable. Try it out for the rest of however long I'm going to be silent. My name's Ocean. I hope you have a lovely day and a beautiful life.